Hey guys, today we're talking about a topic that's extremely important for our mental and emotional well-being: boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining healthy relationships, both with ourselves and others. They help us establish what we're comfortable with, what we're not, and how we want to be treated. But what happens when our boundaries are weak and non-existent? How do we recognize the signs of poor boundaries? In this video, we'll be exploring the top signs that indicate you may need to work on setting better boundaries. I'll also be revealing 3 powerful phrases that can help you establish personal boundaries in your life later in the video. So make sure you stick around for that. Welcome to Wellness Lenses, where we talk about the journey to self-development. If you're new here, we trust you're going to love this video. And if you're a subscriber, thank you for coming back. Without further ado, here we go. The first sign of poor boundaries is constant compromise. So, what does it mean to constantly compromise our boundaries? Well, it means that we are constantly giving up our own needs, desires, and values for the sake of others. It's like always saying yes to requests and demands, even when it goes against our own well-being. This often leads to resentment and burnout, as we are sacrificing our own happiness and well-being for the sake of others. Let's illustrate this with an example. Imagine you are an avid runner and you have set a goal to run every day for 30 minutes. But your friend asks you to go out for drinks instead. This is a classic example of boundary compromise. If you constantly give up your running schedule for your friend, you are compromising your own well-being for their sake. Constant compromise shows that we don't respect or value our own needs, desires, and values. If you find yourself sacrificing your wants and needs to please others, it's a clear indication that your boundaries are not strong enough. The second sign is difficulty saying no. Have you ever found yourself constantly saying yes to everything and everyone, even when it means sacrificing your own time and energy? The truth is, our ability to say no is a crucial aspect of maintaining healthy relationships with others and with ourselves. Saying no sets limits and protects our personal time, energy, and resources. But why do so many of us struggle with it? Think about it. As kids, we were taught to be polite and considerate of others. And as we grow up, this message is reinforced through social norms, cultural expectations, and even the workplace. The result is a tendency to prioritize the needs of others over our own, which can lead to burnout and resentment. Moreover, when we struggle with saying no, it can also indicate a lack of self-worth. We may feel like we need to prove ourselves, or that we're not good enough if we don't agree to every request. This can lead to a vicious cycle of saying yes to everything, which can cause stress, anxiety, and a sense of being overwhelmed. So it's important to learn how to say no in a polite but firm manner, so you can protect your own time and energy. The third sign is neglecting self-care. Poor boundaries can lead us to become overextended, overworked, and drained. We may struggle to say no to requests and commitments, even if they are not aligned with our values, needs, and priorities. This often leads to a pattern of neglecting our self-care, as we prioritize others' needs and expectations over our own. Imagine this scenario. You are constantly working late, answering emails and calls outside of work hours, and sacrificing your personal time and hobbies. You feel exhausted, stressed, and overwhelmed. But you continue to push yourself because you feel guilty or obligated to do so. This is a clear sign of poor boundaries and neglecting self-care. And note that self-care is not just about indulging in luxurious spa treatments or reading a book for an hour. It's also about taking care of our basic needs, such as getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, and exercising regularly. It's about setting aside time for self-reflection, relaxation, and joy. Neglecting these essential elements of self-care can have serious consequences on our health and happiness. You need to identify your values, needs, and priorities. What is important to you, and what do you need to feel fulfilled and satisfied? Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content about self-development and improving your life. It really helps our smaller channel, and your kindness will go a long way. The next sign of poor boundaries is oversharing personal information. We've all met someone who told us everything about their life, from their personal struggles to their deepest secrets, without even knowing us very well. This is an example of oversharing personal information, and it is a top sign of poor boundaries. Oversharing shows that they are not able to distinguish between what is private and what is public, and are also not aware of the consequences of revealing too much information. By sharing too much information, you give others the power to manipulate, exploit, or harm you in some way. The first step to avoid oversharing is to identify what information is private and what is public. You can do this by asking yourself questions like, would I feel comfortable sharing this with a stranger? Or, would I be okay if this information was spread around my community? Also, be mindful of who you share your information with. Choose your trusted friends and family members wisely, and be selective about who you allow into your personal life. Feeling guilty for setting boundaries is also a clear sign of poor boundaries. When we have poor boundaries, we struggle to define and maintain them, leaving us feeling guilty and resentful towards others. So, how can you break this cycle of guilt and resentment when setting boundaries? The first step is to understand that boundaries are not about limiting others, but about taking care of ourselves. When we set a boundary, we're saying, this is what I need for my well-being, and that's okay. It's also important to be assertive and clear when communicating our boundaries. Finally, remember that everyone is responsible for their own emotions and reactions. When we set a boundary, someone else may be upset or hurt, but that's their responsibility, not ours. We can be empathetic and understanding, but ultimately, our boundaries are for our well-being, and we shouldn't feel guilty about that. Now, we've discussed the top signs of poor boundaries and how they can negatively impact our relationships, work, and overall well-being. But what can we do to improve our boundaries and protect our mental and emotional health? In this bonus section, I'll briefly run through 3 phrases you can use to help you set personal boundaries. First on the list is no, which we've mentioned earlier in the video. This is probably one of the most straightforward phrases when it comes to establishing boundaries. However, saying no can often be challenging for many of us. Whether it's due to our upbringing, cultural norms, or just a general use of guilt, saying no can feel daunting. But it's important to remember that saying no is not just about denying someone else, it's about taking care of yourself and protecting your own needs. The second phrase is I need some time. Sometimes, we may feel unsure about how to set boundaries, or we may be worried about hurting someone's feelings. In those cases, you can use this phrase to give yourself some breathing room. By saying, I need some time, you're letting the other person know that you need to take a step back, process your feelings, and make a decision. Finally, we have, let's talk about it. This phrase is perfect for dealing with a situation requiring more nuance or a deeper conversation. By saying let's talk about it, you're showing that you're open to discussing the situation, but you want to make sure that everyone's needs are being respected. It's also a great way to have a conversation about boundaries and help others understand what you need. Remember, setting boundaries is not about being selfish or denying others. It's about taking care of yourself and ensuring you're comfortable with the situation. So, the next time you're in a situation where your boundaries are being tested, try using one of these phrases and see how it works for you. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.